Good evening and welcome to Business First Africa. As you know, I'm Ashwin Bedi. Tonight, we are talking about the FIFA World Cup, but not as a football tournament. We are talking about it as a business machine, because the World Cup can make a city feel rich for a month. Hotel lobbies fill up, airport queues stretch, bars pour like it is New Year's Eve with cleats. Transit agencies dust off special routes, local officials talk about tourism, jobs, tax receipts, and the global spotlight. Then the accountants arrive and suddenly the party gets quieter. The 2026 FIFA World Cup opens tomorrow on June 11 in Mexico City and ends only on June 19 at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. It will be the biggest edition in history, hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico, featuring 48 teams, 104 matches, and 16 host cities. FIFA and the World Trade Organization project $80.1 billion in gross domestic output and up to $40.9 billion in global GDP distribution. Now, that sounds like a monster number, but it needs a footnote the size of a stadium. Gross output is not profit. GDP contribution is not cash in a city treasury. A packed restaurant in Dallas does not mean Dallas taxpayers break even. A hotel room in New York selling at World Cup rates does not automatically mean new wealth has been created. It may simply mean spending has shifted from one place to another. So tonight, we follow the money, not the ball. Welcome to Business First Africa.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
We reckon you may not know these facts about FIFA. FIFA was founded on the 21st of May 1904 in Paris by delegates from Belgium, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. Having started with 7 founding members, FIFA now has 211 member associations, which means it has more members than the International Olympic Committee and the United Nations. Since 2016, over $5 billion USD has been invested into football by FIFA through the FIFA Forward program. FIFA is not just the governing body for football. FIFA is also the governing body for futsal and beach soccer, with World Cup tournaments in both of those sports.
All right, so the first thing to understand is that FIFA's greatest product is not football. It is attention. Football is the engine, but attention is the currency. FIFA does not manufacture cars, build hotels, operate airlines, or sell mobile phones. Yet every 4 years, companies from those industries line up to pay billions for access to the World Cup. Why? Because few events on earth can command billions of people at the same time. In a world where audiences are scattered across streaming platforms, social media apps, and endless entertainment choices, the World Cup remains one of the last truly global appointment viewing events. That makes it incredibly valuable. Broadcasters pay because advertisers pay them. Sponsors pay because consumers are emotionally invested. Hospitality companies pay because corporate clients want premium access. Apparel brands pay because jerseys become identity. Betting companies, telecom firms, banks, airlines, beer brands, delivery platforms, tech companies, and payment systems all see the tournament as a global marketplace disguised as football. FIFA generated a record $7.57 billion in the 2019 to 2022 cycle, largely driven by Qatar 2022. For the 2023 to 2026 cycle, FIFA originally projected $11 billion in revenue, with more recent expectations rising towards $13 billion. The expanded 2026 format makes this possible, moving from 32 teams and 64 matches to 48 teams and 104 matches means more television windows, more tickets, more advertising slots, more hospitality packages, more sponsors, more merchandise, more digital content, and more national audiences emotionally dragged into the commercial ecosystem. Media rights alone are expected to generate more than $4 billion, while sponsorships could add close to $3 billion. This is the beauty of FIFA's model. The organization owns the intellectual property, the brand, the tournament rights, and the global attention. It does not carry the same infrastructure burden as host cities. It captures the premium revenue streams while much of the physical hosting cost sits elsewhere. Prize money has also increased. The 2026 prize pool is reported at $655 million, with each federation guaranteed at least $10.5 million, including preparation payments. The champion receives $50 million, the runner-up $33 million, and the club benefits program has risen to $355 million. That is significant money, especially for smaller football federations. For some countries, qualification alone can fund development programs, coaching, administration, youth football, and national team infrastructure. But the commercial genius remains with FIFA. It has built a business where the world does the watching, brands do the paying, broadcasters do the selling, host cities do the organizing, and FIFA sits at the center of the transaction. That is not just sport. That is one of the most sophisticated attention economies in the world. Now, if we're to talk about host cities and the accounting reality, we need to really get into it, because this is where the story becomes more complicated. See, the World Cup can create a beautiful illusion of prosperity. For a few weeks, cities look alive with money. Hotels are full, streets are busy, restaurants are packed. Taxi drivers smile, airports groan under demand, politicians cut ribbons and speak about legacy. But in public finance, atmosphere is not the same as return on investment. The headline figure of $80.1 billion in gross output measures total economic activity across tourism, transport, hospitality, media, retail, and related industries. It is a spending volume figure, not a profit figure. The $40.9 billion in GDP contribution gets closer to real economic value. But even that does not tell us whether host cities recover what they spend on security, transit, sanitation, emergency services, street closures, communications, crowd control, and fan zones. For the United States, FIFA and WTO estimates point to a $17.2 billion GDP contribution. That sounds huge until you compare it to the scale of the US economy. Deutsche Bank noted that even if the figure lands, it would equal roughly 0.05% of US GDP. Barclays suggested the summer lift could temporarily reach up to 0.2%. with little lasting year-end effect. Goldman Sachs was even more cautious, reviewing World Cup host data since 1982 and finding only a marginally positive, statistically insignificant effect on real output, with long-term impact close to zero. That is the cold shower after the fireworks. The problem is substitution. If someone spends money on World Cup travel, tickets, and hotels, they may simply cancel another holiday, another concert, another family trip, or another entertainment expense. A hotel room sold at a premium may not represent totally new demand. It may replace a regular tourist who avoided the city because prices were too high. This is why finance professionals ask a very different question from politicians. Politicians ask how much spending the event attracts. Accountants ask how much spending is genuinely new, who captures it, who pays the bill, and what remains after the crowd leaves. Host cities do benefit from hotel taxes, restaurant sales, transport usage, and global exposure, but they do not directly share in FIFA's core revenue streams. FIFA captures media rights, sponsorships, licensing, ticketing, hospitality, and premium packages. Cities depend on indirect economic activity to offset direct public costs. The U.S. federal government approved $625 million in security grants for the 11 U.S. host cities, but officials have warned actual security costs could be higher. So the question becomes simple. Who gets the trophy and who gets the invoice? The answer is not always flattering. FIFA's revenues are clear and global. City benefits are scattered, uneven, and sometimes difficult to measure. That does not mean hosting is worthless. Let's be clear. It means hosting must be understood properly. The World Cup is not a guaranteed jackpot. It is a high visibility, high cost economic gamble where the winners are not always the people writing the checks. Let's take a quick break before we continue breaking down FIFA finance.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
All right, let's talk about the consumer economy of the World Cup. The 2026 World Cup is also a major test of consumer willingness to pay. This tournament is not only about whether fans love football. It is about how much they are prepared to spend to experience it live. FIFA's dynamic ticket pricing reflects extraordinary demand, with more than 500 million ticket requests reportedly recorded in the first sales phase. That tells us football remains a global obsession, but it also tells us the World Cup is moving deeper into premium event territory. Reports have cited some group stage tickets starting at around $700 and Category 1 final tickets exceeding $10,000. Add flights, hotels, food, local transport, parking, visas, merchandise, and mobile data, and attending the World Cup becomes less like buying a match ticket and more like financing a luxury holiday. Accommodation costs are also a part of the story. Average nightly hotel rates across host cities reportedly rose from about $227 to over $480, roughly a 90% increase, with some Mexican markets seeing even sharper spikes. New Jersey Transit also reportedly set special MetLife Stadium service at $98 compared to a normal fare of around $13. That raises an uncomfortable question. Are fans subsidizing the spectacle one expensive train ride at a time? For businesses, premium pricing looks like opportunity. For consumers, it can feel like extraction. For cities, it creates reputational risk. A tournament that is marketed as global and inclusive can become financially inaccessible to ordinary fans. There are also risks around international travel, visa delays, high travel costs, immigration concerns, entry requirements, and political anxieties which may affect visitor numbers. Some hotel surveys have already shown bookings below earlier forecasts in certain markets. Local residents may also opt out because of taxes, congestion, disruption, and premium pricing. This is where generational consumption becomes important. Younger audiences consume mega events differently. They may not all want to spend thousands attending in person. They may follow the tournament through watch parties, social media clips, creator content, fantasy platforms, betting apps, streaming highlights, and second screen experiences. For FIFA and sponsors, that opens new commercial channels. The World Cup is no longer only monetized through stadium seats, it is monetized through attention across devices, platforms, and communities. A Gen Z fan in Windhoek, Lagos, Nairobi, or Johannesburg may never travel to New Jersey for the final, but they still generate value through mobile engagement, social sharing, brand interaction, merchandise purchases, and digital viewing. This is why the World Cup remains commercially powerful even when live attendance becomes expensive. It exists in physical stadiums, but it lives globally on screens. And that is a key business lesson for Africa. The future of major events is hybrid. Money is made in the venue, but influence is built far beyond it. The fan in the stadium buys the ticket. The fan at home builds the conversation. The fan online extends the commercial life of the event. The modern World Cup is not just a football tournament. It is a content economy, a tourism economy, a data economy, and a consumer behavior laboratory all at once. So, let's talk about what Africa should learn. For Africa, the World Cup business model should not only be admired, it should be studied. The biggest lesson is that sport becomes more powerful when it is connected to other industries. Think about the Creative Sport and Tourism Expo. FIFA does not run the World Cup as isolated football. It connects broadcasting, tourism, hospitality, technology, aviation, security, food, retail, advertising, fashion, betting, music, digital media, and national branding into one commercial ecosystem. That is where Africa often misses the opportunity. Too many events on the continent are treated as standalone activities. A football match is just a football match. A music festival is just a music festival. A tourism expo is just a tourism expo. A business forum is just that. But the real money comes when these platforms are integrated. CST. Imagine African tournaments designed deliberately with tourism packages, creative markets, investment meetings, music stages, food villages, tech showcases, and broadcast strategies built around them. Imagine visitors coming for sport but leaving with business contacts, cultural experiences, tourism memories, and investment interest. That is the ecosystem thinking Africa needs. The World Cup also teaches us about brand discipline. FIFA has built the World Cup into a premium global property over decades. African institutions must learn to protect and grow their brands with the same seriousness. Strong brands attract sponsors. Sponsors attract media. Media attracts audiences. Audiences attract more sponsors. That cycle is the foundation of commercial viability. The second lesson is infrastructure realism. The 2026 World Cup avoids one major risk that hurt previous hosts: overbuilding. North America already has stadiums, airports, hotels, broadcast capacity, and transport networks. Brazil 2014 is a warning. The country spent an estimated $11.5 billion on stadiums, airports, urban mobility, security, telecoms, and tourism infrastructure, much of it publicly funded. But public frustration grew and the investment case weakened over time. Africa must be careful not to confuse spectacle with strategy. Building a stadium is not an economic plan. Filling it repeatedly after after the event is the plan. The 1994 US World Cup drew more than 3.5 million spectators and helped launch Major League Soccer in 1996. But economists later estimated host city gains fell billions short of projections. So the real question is not whether an event looks successful on television. The question is whether it leaves behind usable infrastructure, stronger industries, better skills, repeat tourism, and long-term commercial platforms. For Africa, the opportunity is enormous, but only if we think beyond ceremony. We need sports linked to tourism, tourism linked to culture, culture linked to broadcasting, broadcasting linked to advertising, advertising linked to digital platforms, and digital platforms linked to young consumers. That is how value compounds. The World Cup may be FIFA's masterpiece, but the lesson belongs to everyone. Own attention, build ecosystems, protect the brand, count the costs, measure the legacy, and never confuse a busy month with a profitable economy. And so, as we wrap up this episode, the 2026 FIFA World Cup will be spectacular. It will generate massive attention, enormous spending, and unforgettable moments. FIFA sponsors broadcasters, hotels, airlines, restaurants, tech firms, and tourism-related businesses are likely to benefit. Host cities will enjoy visitor traffic, global exposure, and short-term commercial activity. But the final business judgment will not come from the roar of the stadium. It will come from the financial results after the lights go off. Did cities recover their costs? Did local businesses gain new value, or simply experience a short spike? Did public investment create lasting infrastructure, or just temporary excitement? Did the event generate new economic activity, or shift spending from one category to another? That is why the World Cup is such a fascinating business case. It is both a celebration and a spreadsheet. It is emotion wrapped in economics. It is football, but also finance. And for Africa, the lesson is clear. The future belongs to those who can turn attention into value, events into ecosystems, and culture into commerce. Until next time, I'm Ashwin Bedi, and this is Business First Africa, where it's never just business, it's life. Good night.